Hi. Today I'm going to go over the Jacks Are Better Greylock 3 underquilt. This is a underquilt for camping hammocks that's rated for down to about 20-25 degrees temperature. This is the underquilt all stuffed up in its Jacks Are Better stuff sack. I've gone over this in the Sierra Stealth video, but essentially you can also see the cord a little bit easier in this. So there's a D-locks D-ring setup that you use to tighten down the stuff sack, and the cord runs from over here underneath this little carrying handle and over to this side. And to loosen it up, you just uncinch it like that, take out the strap remaining, and then unravel the pack down wrapping that you do in order to get it up, in order to close it up, and unvelcro, and there you go. And out we come. And Jacks Are Better does thorough explanations of how to pack up in their stuff sacks, but if you just watched me do that, you know how to do it now. And so this is the underquilt. Now underquilts are for when you're in a camping hammock. Essentially one of the great things about camping hammocks is the fact that when you're in it, since you're exposed to just the open air all over, you are kept from overheating. Like in summer, I would always take a hammock over a tent, and any temperature is pretty much above 60 or 65. In fact, but the funny thing is, essentially with a hammock, essentially once it starts dropping below 70, you're going to start feeling a little bit cool from underneath. And so that's what this is for. Essentially, it's like having a sleeping pad for your hammock, for keeping you warm. Now the way that this hangs up underneath a hammock is that the whole thing hangs like this underneath. And on the front side, on one side of the hammock, you clip it in like this, just around the top line, like the line of the hammock on one side. And then you do the same thing on the far side. Just go to the line of the hammock and clip it in. And the way this is set up is so that and this is considered a torso length hammock, torso length underquilt, but essentially if you stretch out, make sure it's stretched out fully. Now, I am 5'8", so I'm sort of helped by this, but essentially if I lay diagonally on it, I'm able to have, I'll just lay on it just to show. When I lay diagonally on this, if I've got a little pillow underneath my head, I can pretty much have my feet protected pretty well too, especially if I scooch up a little bit and let my shoulders be uncovered, because I've got like a really good pillow setup down. Now, this underquilt lets you regulate the temperature a bit, and the way you do that is that when it's warmer out and you just need a little bit of air circulation underneath in order to help keep you from getting too hot, you loosen up these cords, and this is going to hang looser underneath the hammock, and you'll get a little breeze underneath. It'll keep you a little bit cooler while still providing some warmth. The cooler it is, and the more you need to keep those drafts out, you just tighten up these little cords, and it'll snug up right around you, and works really nicely. And they've got them on both ends. So while you can set this up for yourself with having one end be a front end and one end be a rear end, you don't really have to do that if you don't want to deal with sort of the aggravation of trying to figure out that and plan that. Now, one of the things that they explain in Jacks Are Better videos essentially is that if you want to ensure that this stays in place overnight, that it doesn't slide up and down on the cords, that you install these prusik knots and you just tie them yourself. And then essentially wherever you pull them up to, it'll keep the underquilt there. And so that way, once you have an idea of like, this is where my shoulders are, this is where my feet are, this is where I want the body of this thing to be, then you can just drag them up and just have it out. Now for some quilts that have guy lines, hammocks that have guy lines on them, it has these lines that you can route the lines off of those guy lines through. And you'll notice it actually has it on both diagonals right here, which is where a lot of hammocks seem to have their guy line setups now. And so you can just make sure that it'll stay where you want it to, that it'll be up around your shoulder and around your feet, and you won't have to worry about it popping down and around and under, which can happen if you don't have any kind of setup to sort of help this, which is one of the downsides. Like, you can have problems where like this will pop around your shoulder, and you'll be lying there and going, I feel a little cold. Is it because it's cold, or is it because my quilt just popped around my shoulder? And you'll have to unzip the hammock and reach around and try to make sure to find it and adjust stuff. And not the most awesome moment, especially when it's like 20s outside. But it's pretty reasonable. And in warmer weather, I mean, just having this laying on my lap right now, it is exceptionally warm. But in in most temperatures, like if you lay on a hammock for a moment and you go, man, that's really pretty cool, and then you throw this underneath you, then it becomes so warm and so comfy, and it feels like just basking in warmth when you know the world outside is horribly cold. Like, it's sort of this wonderful combo because you're so sort of open to the world when you're camping in a hammock, but you're exceptionally warm where it feels, I don't know how it's pronounced, but like that cozy, comfortable feeling, and you just sort of can revel in it. And I've made a lot of use of this in my winter camping that I've done. And essentially, if you're worried about like the temperature staying a little bit too low for you with this, on a recent trip I did where it was supposed to be in the 20s, but it's sort of getting to the bottom range of this, I brought a sleeping bag liner with me and had that wrapped around me underneath my 30-degree rated sleeping bag that had another top quilt above that, and it was quite comfortable all night, quite good. And yeah, and essentially that's pretty much all of it. Oh, and so essentially this is a shock cord that you can tighten and loosen for how tight it will hold the whole setup to you. And it's a good thing for varying hammock types, varying hammock sizes, because you can't be certain how different setups will end up rolling. But it does only tighten on it only does have the cinch on one side. So essentially, doing this, you have to if you tighten up this side, you have to even out where your cords are relative to where you need them on. Essentially, beyond that, short of the there's a little bit of a learning curve that you have with using this, because of like sometimes if you tighten these cords too much, it'll end up making this not actually cover your shoulders all the way, or it'll bunch up and create a little pocket of air like this underneath the hammock, and you'll feel a cold draft and go, oh crap, okay, too tight. And with the feet side, if you don't have a guy line coming off the hammock down at your feet, then you'll sometimes have to like slide along the bottom of the hammock to catch this edge and pull it back up to where your feet are, because you don't have to get out to take care of that. So it's a little trick I've ended up having to figure out to do that. Yeah, that's essentially the overview of the Jacks Are Better Greylock 3 sleep underquilt. Oh, also, I believe I got this with the active dry down. Essentially, it's treated down so that it'll maintain its warmth retaining properties when it's got moisture in it. And I'm of the opinion that that's pretty much something you just don't want to say no to if you can get in any product now. You can get the lightweight insulation properties of down without having to be as scared of, well, if my stuff gets wet, I guess I'm going to freeze to death. Yeah, and that's everything for this. So I hope that was useful for you, and please feel free to ask me any questions if you have, and thanks. Bye.